The 1980s was a crazy time. It was one of the 3 decades that housed some of the finest music of the millennial generation. Hairstyles were completely insane, and many cultures were blossoming during this time. One incident in this bright and wide era of culture, however, stands out. In fact, it's still talked about and debated to this day. If you have seen the video title, I am of course talking about the Max Headroom incident. Computers were a new piece of technology. Although the internet would rival a decade later, computers back then were used by governments and software companies to develop programs and use code. A new type of culture to come out of this was computer hacking. No, not the kind where it's some fat dude in his late 20s eating 10 bags of Doritos, spinning faster than a lawnmower blade, and hitting headshots better than John Wick himself. Computer hacking in the 1980s was a culture of a group of rebellious people who wanted to defy these governments and companies to manipulate and steal their programs or code and possibly make money from them. They would make their own code to be able to access the main system to get access into their programs, allowing them to get information they otherwise shouldn't. They can use it for malicious intent, stealing the source code of several big company programs for hackers to hack even more, or use it for fun. Now, most were doing the first option, but a select few during this time were hacking these companies for fun. One other famous example would be Kevin Mitnick, the most wanted hacker in the world. He would hack into telephone companies and get access to their information, but he never did it for anything bad. Just his own pleasure. These type of hackers would simply just hack the governments and companies for fun and curiosity. Although they were the ones that would most likely be caught, at the same time, they might be the ones who get the best type of information a hacker would want to use to create programs to exploit the information even more. They were the ones that would create the best show too. They would do it in spectacular ways. Kevin Mitnick would hack a McDonald's drive-thru to speak in it and override the employee. And for people involved in the Max Headroom incident, they would put themselves into the spotlight for a brief moment and hack into 2 TV stations. They would also use a popular figure at the time to signify their message. The 2 incidents of the hijackings took place in 2 television stations in Chicago, Illinois on the same day. The first hijacking incident occurred during the sports segment of WGN-TV's daily 9 p.m. news broadcast, where they were talking about sports, and then were cut off. 15 seconds of a black screen, then the culprit behind this sudden occurrence revealed himself. The audio of the first hijacking is all distorted and buzzing sounding, which makes it quite hard to distinguish what he could have said in the video. It lasted for an additional 10 or so seconds before engineers at WGN switched the broadcast frequency of their link at the John Hancock Center, therefore stopping the culprit. For now. After that brief and mysterious 30 seconds, Dan Rowan would later famously say, "Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I." He also made more jokes about what just happened, joking that when the hijacking was taking place, the computer running the news program took off and went wild. He then repeated his report about the Chicago Bears game. The incident would be forgotten for another few hours. Little did they know, this was only the beginning. This is the most famous hijacking that most people remember. This particular one had audio, unlike the previous one. The second hijacking occurred around 2 hours after the first hijacking. Instead of being on the same television station, the folks behind the hijackings decided to hijack a completely different one. Their next target was another Chicago TV station called WTTW. The first incident took place around 9 p.m. This one took place at 11 p.m. during an airing of a Doctor Who episode. Luckily for us, the footage of the hijack is accessible because of people recording the episode. It's quite weird and fascinating to watch, but the intruder made crude comments about the people he was trying to hijack, such as sportscaster from WGN-TV named Chuck Swirsky, who the masked figure insulted as a frickin' liberal. The video was just him making weird sounds and occasionally doing actions Max Headroom would do in his show, or commercials he did. The broadcast lasted for 90 seconds, mainly due to problems of engineers at WTTW not being present to monitor frequencies and actions like this. The hijacker then proceeded to show himself being smacked in the ass with a fly swatter by a mysteriously masked woman. Just as the engineers and members of the FCC were reviewing this sudden hijacking and how it could have happened, the hijacker stopped broadcasting himself, and it would be the last one. This commences one of the most mysterious mysteries to find out and arrest those behind the incident. These hijackings occurred 30 years ago, so surely they must have caught them. Well, seeing this video, you already know that's not the case. At the time, signal hijacking was a new occurrence. However, by 1987, it was a felony, and could get you 1 year in prison. And authorities were getting better at cracking hacker codes and programs to catch them. It was significantly more risky now to be a hacker, and yet the identity of the people behind the Max Headroom incident have never been caught. Even 30 years later, there are no confirmed suspects. The FCC, the organization that helps catch hijacked airwaves or hacks, said that if they were to catch the Max Headroom hacker, they could face up to a maximum fine of $100,000 or up to a year in prison, or even both. The FCC were the ones trying to find the hackers, but they never found him. In fact, while I was researching this video, I could find no articles about police or authorities searching for Max. What I could find is how the culprits managed to hack these big TV stations. Essentially, they could set up a satellite dish at the main tower to intercept the signal and set the frequency to air the Max Headroom video. It is quite simple to fight, but an effective way to easily hack a big TV station. Rumors of the people behind the incident also circulated. A Redditor on the r/AskMeAnything subreddit around 2011 made a post with the following title: I believe I know who is behind the Max Headroom incident that occurred on Chicago TV in 1987. This post was immediately regarded as false, but as people read the information on the post, they began to speculate and realize the original poster might have actually been closed with the Max Headroom hackers. The post describes the original poster and how he and his friends in the 1980s would freak and hack programs and telephones. The names of the hackers that may be behind the incident were kept anonymous in the post, but the original poster claimed he still knew their first names and last names. The hackers were much older and in college, while the original poster was only in his teens. The evidence and proof he gave in the post really made it sound like he knew who they were, and some evidence by others helped confirm some information. Some Redditors confirmed that the places OP mentioned in the post were real places. Others confirmed other useful information as well. However, disappointingly, the post was later concluded. With the help of the subreddit community, they denied the people OP mentioned in his post to not be actual or good suspects. The post was real, but the information in the post was telling a different story. Now, a federal search by the government and the FCC was conducted, but somehow the hackers of the hijacking managed to evade possible arrest. It has been more than 30 years since the incident. No person has been made a suspect, and no person has been arrested. I've tried scouring the internet, but the search for the Max Headroom hackers might be classified by the FCC and the government, so the end? This video could have been longer, but I promise you, I couldn't find anything about searching for the Max Headroom hackers. Either the FCC and federal government never conducted a really brief and wide search, or it's classified. But this incident from 1987 can still intrigue all of us for many years to come. A slow clap for all the hackers that can manage to hack 2 big TV stations and get away with it, and never be caught. Disappointing? Yes, but I guess we might get more confirmed information later.